Hey, welcome. I want to talk today about sacredness. Sacredness is a topic for me that almost has to be explained from the ground up in today's common kind of parlance. I don't think that there is a great set of words or ideas that we have necessarily that we share culturally about sacredness right now. I think when people hear the word, they immediately go to, this must be a religious phrase and framing. I'm going to invite us maybe just to start our discussion around what is real and starting with what is real. And starting with what it is that we find in our own day-to-day living experience that is sacred, that we can derive sacredness from. Just behind the camera is a view I have of a mountain that overlooks the town I'm in. And just to my right is my dog that decided to come into frame. They're real things that, whether we like it or not, we are in relationship to. Our food, our body, our spaces, our relationships. These are the things that we fill our days with. Whether we like it or not, we're going to spend a lot of our time with those things. And so for me, starting with those things feels like the easiest way to understand sacredness. So to make something sacred means to make it conscious. And it means to make something honored by our seeing of it. So by becoming conscious of something, we see it and we are able to honor it and give it a space of importance in our lives, a place where we have decided to show up in a way which treats things as sacred. Now, its opposite word a lot of times used is profane, sacred, profane, sacred, profane. That opposite relationship, that opposing relationship, I think has really gotten us a little bit twisted up, because to me, the way that we relate to sacredness, I guess, or the way that our current moment maybe invites us to view sacredness, for me, doesn't leave a lot of room for the profane, right? That which is not worthy of my time, or not worthy of my treating as sacred. I guess the reality for me of all of this stuff, of that which is sacred, is that I don't know that I've ever come across something that I don't at this point believe is sacred on some level. I have seen upsetting things, and there will continue to be upsetting things in my life. But in my relationship to it, I view, some maybe like as the most challenging of topics, death. Death is a sacred right. To pass from life into death is a sacred and important rite of passage as an aspect of our lives as humans. And we can choose to treat that as something separate from us, something separate from our sacredness, something which is profane and of the material world out there. But my interest in pulling us into the material framing for sacredness and the day-to-day focus of my sacred relationship to food, my sacred relationship to family and partners and friends and all of that, is because when it's real and we treat it like it's sacred, it changes that thing over time. That thing becomes more like a sacred object. And I find that that works for relationships too. Right? Treating a relationship as sacred changes the way you interact with it and the way it interacts with you. So it's a complex relationship to embark on. To make something sacred in your life is to take it on in a different way than just a mundane focus or, like a mundane aspect of your day-to-day existence. So we're going to we'll leave the foundational concepts and move up into a couple foundational pieces that can maybe start to build the frame of our understanding of sacredness. My teacher used to use the words attunement and entrainment. So our practice in our day-to-day lives of bringing sacredness into presence, into everything we do, first requires, on some level, an attunement to the sacred. Some might say an initiation would be a different word that could say the same thing, right? A moment that initiates us into an understanding of sacred energy. So anybody who ever grew up with a religious orientation can probably have a conversation about when they experienced something that felt sacred to them. It's the type of thing that makes you want to take off your hat or your shoes or something like that, that says, ooh, I gotta make sure that I'm not treading dirt on this, right? That I'm treating this with sacred attention and care. So when we experience moments like that, we can call that attuning to the sacred. In the other concept, entrainment is our daily or regular, at least, practice of reifying, making real the connection with sacredness. So we can take this as peak experience and practice of integration. We achieve a peak experience, which is an attunement to sacredness, which then allows us to move into practices which help us entrain day in, day out to the sacredness through our practice, whatever our practice is. Hopefully helps us integrate what is made apparent to us and real to us through our seeking of moments and places that hold inspiration and power for us. So just to reframe this idea of sacredness within the confines that we've looked at it so far, and just restate what we've looked at. This idea of what is real is what is sacred. If it is real, we have an opportunity at least to treat it as sacred. we can come into a better awareness of sacredness through finding places and situations and moments that are filled with the momentum of sacredness, right? So places like churches, cathedrals, standing stone monuments, all that sort of stuff. Those are all places where people's momentum and stories of sacredness are held, and allows us to come into a better understanding, at least, of what that feeling is. And our concept of entrainment is going to help us to bring sacredness and our connection to the sacred, to the divine, into our lives in a real time sort of way. And our capacity to hold inclusion for what is real, even the challenging things, even the things which don't readily feel like they're very sacred to us, still present us an opportunity to engage with our sacred connections. And so that's going to be where I'll leave it a little bit today. Just this foundational concept of sacredness. As we move into more and more conversation about the things that I do find sacred, it feels important to me to explain the foundations of that. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a sacred and beautiful day.